Hi, in this video I am going to talk about my experience at Windsor Tunnel CBP offices to extend my I94 based on my husband's I797 approval. Before moving into that, let me explain my case clearly. My husband is a H1B visa holder and I am his H4 dependent working with H4 EAD. My EAD card, my H4 visa and my I94 all expires in 1 month. Actually, before 6 months of H1 and H4 visa expiry date, we can apply for the extensions. We actually started the process at the right time. We got approvals, we filled the forms, and when it was at the last stage, unexpectedly my husband's project ended. He started searching for other projects, and by the time he got the current project, 2 months were already squandered. Then we shifted house, and with change of address, we again filled the forms, got new manager approvals, and as we had less time, we got special approvals for filing premium for his H1 extension, and we got it filed. If we had filed H1 and H4 together for premium processing, then I would have got my approval by this time. But unfortunately, his employer changed their policies, and as per the new policy, they are no more filing H4 applications. And as you know, premium applications can only be filed by organizations and not by individuals. So we had to wait for his H1B visa extension receipt, that is I797 approval, and then using his receipt number, I applied for my H4 and H4 EAD extensions, and it took 2 weeks to get my receipts. As per USCIS guidelines, to be eligible for EAD auto extension for 540 days, timely filed H4 EAD receipt alone is not sufficient. We also need Form I94 that is valid beyond current EAD's end date. So that's where I was stuck, as my I94 ends with my current EAD. As my husband got his extension approval for 3 years from now, as his dependent, I am also eligible to extend my I94 for the same 3 years based on his approval. But how to extend was the question. The most recommended method to extend I94 is to go back to our home country and get our H4 visa stamped in the passport based on primary applicant's H1 extension approval, and then get back to US, and at your port of entry, the CBP officer will automatically extend your I94 based on the valid visa stamping. But we had this as our last option because there is a high demand on visa stamping slots availability in India. The next option was to go to Canada or Mexico for visa stamping, as the visa stamping slots availability and the stamped passport pickup time were much quicker than India. But to go to Canada, we need Canada visitor visa, which might roughly take 2 to 3 weeks to receive the same. But with just valid US visa, we shall go to Mexico for visa stamping, and we were exploring the same. At the same time, we also read some stories that just flying to Mexico, staying there for a night, and then flying back to US, some people got their I94 extended for the whole family in the airport based on primary applicant's extension approval. And this option was recommended by Reddy and Newman, the well-known immigration attorney in Texas, in their YouTube channel. So we thought to try our luck by flying to Cancun City in Mexico, staying there for 1 or 2 nights, and then flying back to US. While exploring this option, we encountered a message in a Telegram group where someone posted that he followed the same route, he flew to Mexico, stayed there, and when he returned to US, in his port of entry at Orlando Airport, the CBP officer extended his I94 but denied to extend his wife's I94 as she didn't have her H4 approval, and also her visa was about to expire in just 1 month. Same case as mine. But as we read many story experiences in Telegram group and SOS group, this had 80-20 chances where 80 is the success rate. And the next available option we had at hand was to cross Canada or Mexico border by land and re-enter US to try our luck at border CBP office. There are many border crossings across US, but the one in Windsor Tunnel, Detroit, Michigan was so close to us, and also the success rate at this border CBP office is 99%. To use this option, you need a valid US visa to re-enter US. Though Canada visa is optional, I highly recommend you to take Canada visa if you have 1 month time at hand. And we went without Canada visa, and this act is called flag polling. That is, we won't be entering the Canada, we'll just entering the Canada border, and as we don't have valid visa, our entry into Canada will be rejected. We are not actually entering into the country. We are just going around the flagpole of Canada flag, and taking a U-turn and returning to US, this act is called flagpoling. This is not illegal or crime, as sometimes people in US miss the exit and end up entering Canada border, then give their explanation, get refused and come back to US. But I have read few stories that some CBP officers in the border reject to extend I94 if you have entered after flagpoling. Also, in one rare case, they have flagpoled, got the I94 extended, but after that, when they go for visa stamping, they might issue 221G, that is denial of visa, initiating administrative processing, as our flagpoling might be considered as a suspicious border activity, and asked for explanations. Though we shall give the reason of our I94 extension as explanation, this administrative processing might delay our visa stamping. Though this can occur in very rare cases, to be on the safer side, I would highly recommend you to take Canada Visitor Visa if you have 1 month at hand, so that you shall avoid flagpoling and make a meaningful entry into US. Okay, now let's see the process of getting I94 extended at the Windsor Tunnel. Before planning for the trip, we call directly to the Detroit CBP office customer care number provided in their official government website. I'll give this link in the description box below. Call to the number provided under Facilities and Crossings. Listen to the extension options and select accordingly. We selected extension 0. I explained my scenario and asked if they will extend my H4 I94 based on my husband's H1 I797 approval. He said yes. And when I asked what should I bring, he said bring your husband and his I797 approval along with all your passports. So I recommend you to call and get the confirmation about your case before you go. Unfortunately, if a CBP officer denies your case at the border, you can tell about this phone confirmation. Detroit is more than 5 hours from where we live, and this process might roughly take 2 hours. So we decided to stay in Detroit that night. If you're taking luggages with you, then they might open each and every bag in the car for security check at border CBP office. So better travel light. But as we planned to stay there one night, we had some luggages and snacks in the car. So first we went straight to the hotel, checked in, left all our belongings there. We just took some water bottles and the documents and drove to Windsor Tunnel. You shall check the traffic at the Windsor Tunnel and also the waiting time and plan your entry accordingly. We went around 3 to 5 as the waiting time was just 5 minutes. I'll share you this link in the description box below. Google Map will promptly guide you to the Windsor Tunnel. Just follow the directions. There are no checks or stamps while exiting US. You just have to pay the toll, and once paid, you are open to enter the tunnel. This tunnel is under Detroit River and it connects two cities. One is Detroit in Michigan, US, and the other one is Windsor in Ontario, Canada. And that's why this is called Detroit-Winsor Tunnel. In just 1 mile, you'll reach the other end of the tunnel, and that is the Canada border. Keep all your passports and the primary applicant's I-797 approval notice ready. We have come out of the tunnel and here US and Canada flags are flying high. This is Windsor entry to Canada. We were waiting in one of the car lines, and once we reached the booth, we handed over all our passports to the officer. When she asked us about the purpose of her visit, we said that we don't have Canada visa. We just came to flagpole and we wanted to return back to US and extend our I-94. She asked for the I-797 approval. After checking, she handed over the document and the passports and directed us to Canada CBP office. We were asked to park and lock our car here, and we went into the CBP office just with our documents. We again explained the purpose of our visit there, and we were given individual refusal slips stating that we were refused to enter Canada as we don't have a valid visa. There was not much crowd, but just for us, it took more than half an hour for the process. Then the officer guided us to the car park and showed us the way back to the tunnel to get back to US. The officers at Canada CBP office were so kind, and they reassured us that this does not come under any crime or illegal activities, and this refusal slip is just a formality. She added that this won't cause any issue when we visit Canada again. She asked us to take Canada visa and extended warm welcome to her country next time. I truly appreciate her politeness. Next, we are out of the tunnel and standing in the car line for US border security. Here too we said that we have come for I-94 extension. They checked the passports, I-797 approval, and directed us to US CBP office. At the CBP office, we were asked to leave the car outside with the keys and the mobiles inside the car, and we were allowed just to take the wallet and the documents with us. Here, to the CBP officer, my husband told that he got his I-797 approval for his H1B extension, and he wanted to extend the I-94 for him as well as his H4 dependents. The officer questioned if we had our H4 approval notices. My husband told that he was the primary applicant and he wanted to extend I-94 for the dependents based on primary applicant's approval. If he denied that, then we thought of showing my H4 receipt, but he just agreed for that. We paid $6 for each H4 I-94 extension. It was free for H1 I-94. He took photographs and gave admission stamp in each passport, mentioning the new I-94 admit until date, that is 3 years from now. In just few minutes, online I-94 also got updated. I'll give the link to check it in the description box below. With my extended I-94 and my H4 EAD receipt, I'm now eligible for EAD auto extension for 540 days, so I can continue my work without any break. If you had Canada visa, you could have avoided visiting Canada CBP office to get the refusal slip. In such case, you just mention the purpose of your visit in the border booth and enter into Canada and take the next exit to US, and you'll have to pay one more toll before entering the Windsor tunnel. Rest of the process is same as I mentioned in this video. I'm not an attorney, but hope my experience helps you in some sort. Always seek for proper legal advice if you have any ifs and buts in your case. My sincere thanks to my Insta buddies Kritika Ramanujam and Anubama Vikraman for guiding me throughout this process.